Yeah, okay, now the other problem is that it isn't necessarily whether it's a communist or conservative issue. We are also suffering, Alex, from the fallout from the Second World War. Because I lived in England through the Second World War. And what happened in the war in England and also in the U.S. was that for the sake of defending the nation, everybody agreed to surrender their individual rights to the government. Okay, and in England, it even got to the point where you got ration books for, how many shirts you could buy and jackets you could buy, everything. Okay, and rationing didn't come off, and I know this up until 1952. You couldn't.
And that set a precedent for tyranny, so they always use a terror threat or an environmental threat.
Okay, and now, Alex, what we're into is this debate about, well, what should be run by government, what should be run by free enterprise. And we are so confused now because we've had, since the war, 70 years of government doing more and more and more that we've got.
Good point. Got a break. We won't have time to play it today, but tomorrow I will. It's up on Infowars.com. John Lennon explaining that population control was all a big myth to enslave people and control them. That was shortly before they killed him. He really started waking up. So all you leftists out there need to just wake up and get with the program. And all you fake right-wingers that love war, you need to wake up and get with the program. You're all being controlled. Tim Ball, I want to jam in some final calls. Our time has gone by really quick with you.
Yep.
You've done so much great work. You write for Canadian Free Press and other publications. You're in the Great Global Warming Swindle. What are some other places people can check out your work? Obviously my film, Fall the Republic. Go ahead.
Yeah, Phil, and for which I'm very grateful for the time we took. Friendsofscience.org. All one word. And you mentioned the NRSP at the beginning. Unfortunately, Alex, because of funding, we had to shut that down. We couldn't even keep the web page open, so that's gone. But Canada Free Press, friendsofscience.org, excellent sources for my work.
And meanwhile, the media keeps saying the oil companies are funding you and others when they're not funding you. The big oil companies are all for the global tax.
Well, exactly, and it's one of the things that's annoying about all of this is the hypocrisy of a lot of these industries. And, of course, it's another part of the game that you create with tax money business opportunities so people then ignore the facts. And I was at a farm meeting the other day in Alberta, and this guy's selling carbon credits, and one of the farmers said, well, but hang on a minute, Dr. Ball tells us there's no need for this. He said, I don't care about the science. There's a business opportunity here. And so they've created that to such a scale that to try and close it down is going to be a problem.
Well, that's another key you just made, is that Al Gore and others advertise, hey, there's a lot of money to be made based on taxing people, though.
But that's why they called it cap and trade. You see, cap is putting the cap over that evil pollution that's coming out of those nasty industries. And, oh, by the way, we can create trade, and therefore there's benefits out of this. This is all part of the PR game.
Well said. Alex in Georgia, you're on the air with our guest, Dr. Tim Ball.
Mr. Jones, it is an honor to be speaking with you. Couple things that I would like to point out. One thing is if you go to Facebook, on the page Arrest Al Gore Already, which is a continuation of one that got taken off by another individual, but I put all this information up there. But on there's a link to, and it's published by the Australian Academy of Science. The IPCC research data referenced on there actually states, quote unquote, a warmer world will have a higher sea level because as the land and lower atmosphere of the world warm, heat is transferred into the ocean. When materials are heated, they expand. So the heat that is transferred causes seawater to expand, which then results in a rise in sea level. The thing here is that water, if you wanted to conduct an experiment,
Water expands when it gets cold. Everybody knows that. This is asinine. Dr. Ball, as a scientist, you want to comment on that?
Well, yeah, just very quickly, and in a much broader sense. When I ask people over the years, okay, what's wrong with global warming? In fact, there's a lot of positive things to warming. A country like Canada, we'd use less energy, we'd have more farming and more reliable farming, but none of that's ever talked about. It was all the negative things, and so you you ask people, and they think for a while, and they finally say, "Oh, the sea level is going to rise." That's why Gore made it such a big part of his Inconvenient Truth, all that computer-animated sea level rising. And of course, Gore, even the IPCC disagreed with Gore over the numbers he was giving. But that's why that's become such a focus. And of course, the other thing that the caller mentioned was the academies of science. There are certain people within those academies that have been coerced into using the Academy of Sciences to give legitimacy to this. But when people have pushed back, like in Russia, for example, the head of the Academy of Sciences there said, "I'm not going to use this agency for propaganda," and they refused to participate. So this is all part of the game that's been
And that's the good news, is more people are blowing the whistle, more scientists are coming out. I mean, we're learning that it's rare when these government-run universities and research facilities aren't engaged in fraud. I mean, they have really hired a gaggle of criminals. There's hundreds of thousands of scientists. They've hired a couple thousand that are on their payroll to run around lying.
Well, Alex, I saw that coming in the university, the funding issue in university. The first place I noticed it was in our university, in fact, in Canada generally, you couldn't get a sabbatical unless you could prove you had funding to do something while you're on sabbatical. And then the universities, as the cutbacks came, even big universities like Harvard and the land-grant universities saw the cutbacks. They suddenly realized they could shave 30 to 35% off the top of any funding. And they argued quite reasonably, "Oh, well, we're giving you office space, heat and light and all the rest of it." But what it did was it made the funding become critical in your value to the university. And so where it was publish or perish, it became get funding or perish. And, of course, that drove it. And I also sat on committees where people were filling out forms. And
so that's how they took control of all the universities. Dr. Ball, thank you so much.